sat there on the couch holding the Bible to my chest with one hand and drinking my coffee with the other until morning came. That's when my parents stumbled out of their bedroom on their way to the kitchen for their morning cup of sunshine, as my mum puts it. And my mum gasped, stopped in her tracks and shook a little. My father nearly ran into the back of her. "Oh my God, Michael, you scared the crap out of me," she said, startled. "What are you doing on the couch? And why do you have the Bible?" My father mumbled something incoherent, then yawned. He's definitely not a morning person. Then I stood up, placing the Bible on the coffee table, as well as my coffee cup. Then I put a coaster underneath it first, so it wouldn't mess up the table. "I'm sorry for scaring you, Mum," I said. "But, Mum, Dad, we need to talk." I decided at that very moment to tell them both the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God. "Michael, what's wrong?" my mum said, concerned, as she walked towards me, placing her right hand on my left cheek. My dad then mumbled something that sounded like coffee. Then we all agreed and made our way to the kitchen. Mum put on a pot as Dad and I sat at the table, and I twiddled my thumbs, looking around nervously. I couldn't figure out if my father was giving me his "I need coffee" stare, or his infamous Clint Eastwood High Plains drifter stare. My mum joined us soon after. "Okay, Michael, what's going on?" she asked. "Well, do you remember last Saturday when I went to the mall and I was wearing that jacket that you don't really like me wearing?" I asked. "Yes," she replied. "Well," I started. "Coffee's done. Let's get a cup first." We had a very fast brewing coffee maker. But anyway, we all got our coffee. Then I spent the next 45 minutes telling them everything. Everything from the old man in the bathroom to selling my soul, my trip to hell to the number on my arm and what it meant. And by the way, it now read 2550. The church, the car, the guitar, the band, my bandmates being dead but somehow still being alive, and throwing my stuff in the river and getting it all back the next day. Susan, Tommy, the cops, and that messed up dream. Every little thing. Complete disclosure. My mum stared at me with her mouth open wide in complete shock, and my dad still stared at me with that crazy look. After a few seconds of silence, my mum finally spoke. "Are you on drugs, Michael?" "No, you're not on drugs. You're possessed. I'm calling Father Thomas. He'll know what to do." She got up quickly from the table and ran to the phone. "Mum, I'm not on drugs and I'm not possessed," I yelled. "But you can get anything you want just by asking for it, right?" My father was now finally speaking coherently. "Yes, Dad," I answered. "Mary, put down the phone." "But Gerald," my mum replied. "Mary, put down the phone," he said more sternly this time. My mother did as she was told, came back to the table and sat down. "Okay, son. I'll believe you if you can do what you say you can do." "Prove it," he demanded. I was feeling kinda hungry, so I said, "Okay. I want pancakes, eggs, sausage with toast and orange juice." Then almost immediately, a plate of those items and a small glass of orange juice appeared in front of me on the table. My parents just stared at each other. "No effing way," my dad exclaimed. "Gerald, language," my mum said. Yeah, that's pretty good. Can you get me a raise at work?" he asked. "What?" I responded, shocked. "Yeah, and I want one of those little Shih Tzu dogs. I've always wanted one," my mum said, smiling. I shook my head in shock. "No," I said loudly. 10 seconds ago you thought I was possessed. What is wrong with you? I'm going to hell. I don't have a soul. I killed someone and all you're worried about is getting stuff for yourselves. Who are you people?" I drank the orange juice quickly, grabbed the plate of food and my coffee cup, and stormed out of the kitchen. I went upstairs to my bedroom, and my parents were still sitting at the kitchen table, joyfully telling each other what they wanted, like a kid making a Christmas list. I've never seen my parents act like this before, and it was shocking to say the least. I sat at my desk and ate my breakfast, and it was pretty good, I must say. But I didn't want to have any more interactions with my parents, so I just hung out in my room listening to music and watching a Miami Vice marathon on USA Network. I remembered after a while that I was supposed to pick Ricky up for band practice that night, but I didn't know where he lived. So I called B&B Music again, and Ricky answered. "Hello, thank you for calling B&B Music. How may I help you?" he said. "Hey man, it's me, Mikey Z. Where do you want me to pick you up for band practice tonight?" I asked. "Dude, I was just about to call you. I remembered your number from when the old man had me call you from hell. But anyway, band practice is cancelled as we can't play at the warehouse anymore." I heard Ricky's dad say in the background, "Richard, that's a business phone, not a personal phone. Make it quick, boy." "Okay, Pop," he replied. "You still there, man?" Ricky asked. "Yeah, I'm here," I said. Stephen came by the store earlier this morning and told me his parents threw an absolute fit when he showed up at their house after being dead for 2 days. His mum grabbed a Bible and started quoting scriptures whilst throwing sage at him, which is freaking hilarious. Then his dad took back his key to the warehouse and physically threw him out of the house. He even had to break into the warehouse to get his drum kit out. He said he slept in the truck with the kit in the back the first night, then went to Derek's and Corey's house. They agreed to let him stay with them as Derek's parents disowned him about 2 years ago, and Corey's parents live in California, so they don't have any adults to worry about. I talked to them afterwards, and we're just going to hang out at their place tonight. Kind of like a band party. You cool with that? They rent an old house on Chestnut Street. You know, the one they say is haunted. "They live in a haunted house," I said. "That's friggin' awesome." "So can you pick me up at 5 and we'll head over there?" he asked. "Definitely. I'll bring my guitar and songbooks." "Sounds good, dude. See you then," Ricky replied. "Get off the phone, boy," Ricky's dad yelled in the background. "Getting off now, Pop." "I gotta go, man." "Later, dude," he said. "Later." We hung up the phone and it was about 1:30 at that point. Now, I've never been one for clutter or mess. I never leave dirty dishes, cups, silverware, empty soda bottles, fast food containers, or things like that just laying around. And I still don't for that matter. So I decided to take my plate, my fork and my coffee cup down to the kitchen, hoping my parents were done acting like greedy little children and I could get in the kitchen and put my stuff in the sink and back up to my room undetected. But it didn't work out that way. Now, before I tell you what happened next, let me explain the layout of our house a little bit. When you left my bedroom was the room at the very end of the hallway upstairs. There was a bedroom on the left that my mum used as a storage room for all her craft-making stuff. She's had a pretty neat setup in there, actually. But anyway, further down the hall, there was a bathroom on the right with a small stand sitting outside of it, where the phone is. Then you reach the staircase, and it was enclosed, surrounded by walls on either side, unlike most staircases nowadays, which are only half wall and you can see the living area or front door once you get halfway down them. At the end of the staircase is a landing, where a nice plant sits on a stand. Then you turn to your right and go down 3 or 4 more steps to the first floor, facing the living room. The kitchen is to your right and the front door is to your left. And now that you understand the layout, let me tell you what happened. I started down the stairs, which was about 10 to 12 steps from the top to the landing, when I heard a bit of commotion in the living room, thinking it was my parents getting up to apologize for their actions earlier. But I was wrong. So very wrong. If I knew then what I know now, I would have gone back to my bedroom and never gone downstairs. As I made my way down, I could hear something was going on. The house was old, so the steps creaked a little, and just as I reached the step before the landing, I heard my mum say, "Please don't hurt him." My reaction time wasn't fast enough, as just as I heard my mum say that, I knew to turn around quickly and get back up the stairs. But suddenly a guy about the size of a Mack truck grabbed me in a bear hug and slammed me into the wall. I closed my eyes and screamed out in pain as my left shoulder and the side of my head slammed hard against the wall, causing me to drop my plate, the fork, and my favourite coffee mug. It was a Kiss mug with pictures of all 4 original members in makeup surrounding it. I still haven't forgiven my parents for that one. I then heard the plate and the cup break as they hit the floor, and I began kicking and swinging my arms in a feeble attempt to break loose from that gorilla's grasp. He then picked me up and carried me down the last few steps, stepping on the broken pieces of plate and mug. I opened my eyes just in time to see another large behemoth of a man putting a black cloth bag over my head. "Stop!" I screamed. "Mum! Dad! Help!" I heard my mother crying as she said, "I'm sorry, Michael," over and over again, and my father simply said, "It's for your own good, son." I guess they changed their minds. Then I felt a sharp stabbing on the right side of my neck that felt like a needle penetrating my skin. I had a warm sensation in that area soon after, and right before I lost consciousness, I felt what I can only assume was water being sprinkled on my arms and most likely the rest of my body. Then I heard an old man's voice proceed to speak in Latin. Hey, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed my video. And if you did, could you please give me virtual hugs by subscribing and clicking that notifications button. I also have a Patreon page and YouTube channel membership if you'd like to support me further. Thank you again for being here. Keep being creepy.